It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, he had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever.
Hello, and welcome to a video on Gothic literature. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Gothic architecture, Gothic literature, its elements, origin, and relevance. What elements define Gothic literature? When you think of the word Gothic, you might think of people with dark hair, black lipstick, or thick eyeliner. Maybe you'll think of death or spiders or even Gothic architecture. But what is Gothic literature? To begin with, it's a subgenre of Romantic literature. This means writing from the Romantic time period, between roughly 1790 and 1850, not books about starry-eyed lovers, charm, or heart, as one might guess. But romance wasn't completely out of the question in Romantic literature, which emphasized the importance of strong feelings, nature, the individual, and imagination. Gothic literature shares some of these characteristics, but employs a darker feel over the story. A typical characteristic is the importance of the setting, which is often thoroughly described, picturesque, and gloomy. Quite frequently, the story is based around this setting, whether it be a haunted house, ominous town, or sinister cemetery. The narrators are melodramatic, mysterious, intriguing, or even mad. The overall ambience gives off feelings of dread or fear and an unusual, unsettling mood. Another frequent aspect of Gothic literature is mental illness or psychological trauma, and the question of madness versus the supernatural. It leaves the reader questioning whether there is paranormal activity at play, or if it is all in the mind of the narrator. Are the ghosts in that haunted house real, or are they imagined by the storyteller, who might be going mad? This tactic is used in some of the most famous Gothic works. For example, The Telltale Heart, in 1843, written by Edgar Allan Poe, is a very well-known short story. In it, the narrator kills an old man because of his blind eye, which the narrator perceives as evil. He buries the old man under the floorboards and begins to hear a beating sound that he believes to be coming from the old man's heart. But is the supernatural beating of the heart that the storyteller hears coming from the guilt-driven insanity that has taken over his mind? But Gothic literature doesn't just consist of bleak scenarios and intimidating environments. Many Gothic works contain touches of romance, travel, adventure, and even humor. A great example of this is the short story The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Written by Washington Irving in 1819, it is a spin on the tale of the Headless Horseman, containing not only romance, action, and horror, but also humor. Not with laugh-out-loud jokes, but with the use of silly words and names such as Knickerbocker, and humorous descriptions, such as that of the main character, Ichabod Crane. He was tall, but exceedingly lank, with narrow shoulders, long arms and legs, hands that dangled a mile out of his sleeves, feet that might have served for shovels, and his whole frame most loosely hung together. His head was small and flat at top, with huge ears, large green glassy eyes, and a long snipe nose, so that it looked like a weathercock perched upon his spindle neck to tell which way the wind blew. To see him striding along the profile of a hill on a windy day, with his clothes bagging and fluttering around him, one might have mistaken him for the genius of famine descending upon the earth, or some scarecrow eloped from a cornfield. What is Gothic architecture? Gothic architecture is a style of architecture that became popular in France and the rest of Europe between the 12th and 16th centuries. It evolved from Romanesque architecture, a similar style, just as Gothic literature evolved from the Romantic genre. This unique type of structures contain 5 key elements: Stained glass windows, pointed arches, ribbed vaults, highly ornate decoration, and flying buttresses, which, no, are not flying mattresses made of butts. Why did I think of that? They're actually inclined beams that support the weight of a structure. These flying buttresses are one of the things that sets Gothic architecture apart from Romanesque construction. The Gothic style abandoned the thick Romanesque walls in order to make their buildings high. They had to weigh less to be taller. In order to still have adequate support, they made use of flying buttresses. While this building and this building both have a rather similar shape from the front, you can tell this one is Gothic by the arches and intricate designs. Gothic architecture is often described as imposing, intimidating, and intriguing. It's something marvelously beautiful, but also something that might invoke fear or awe. It seems as though a Gothic building would be the perfect place for a Gothic story to take place. Though the style faded after the 16th century, it made a comeback in the Gothic Revival, an architectural movement in the late 1700s, which is right when some of the first Gothic novels were coming out. It once again gained a great deal of popularity until finally going out of fashion in the late 19th century. Where did Gothic literature originate from? The origin story of Gothic writing is quite amusing. It began as a subtle joke. Horace Walpole, born in 1717, was an English writer and politician, most well known for his novel The Castle of Otranto. The book was given the subtitle A Gothic Story, at a time when the word meant something like barbarous, as well as deriving from the Middle Ages. Walpole pretended that the story was ancient, from Italy in 1529, and only recently discovered. 1529 was around the time that the Middle Ages came to an end. But this was all for the purpose of fooling the readers, as the book was written in 1764. The Castle of Otranto is generally thought to be the first Gothic novel. It contains romance, murder, mystery, touches of the supernatural, and a doomy setting, an old, dark, mysterious castle. These components have become core elements of Gothic fiction. After Walpole's success, many other books appeared in this same genre, such as Anne Radcliffe's novel The Mysteries of Udolpho in 1794. It, too, is set in a fictional Italian castle and contains an aristocratic villain set out to threaten the heroine Emily with a terrible fate. Anne Radcliffe's novels were not only important to Gothic fiction, but to women's role in fiction itself. Radcliffe portrayed women as equals at a time when that was relatively unheard of, and it was no surprise that her work quickly became popular amongst upper and middle-class women, who could for the first time see themselves as capable heroines. Gothic fiction continued to evolve and took the form of novels, short stories, and poetry, but around the 1830s it was no longer a dominant literary genre. Today it's mostly been replaced by ghost, horror, detective, suspense, and thriller novels. But that brings us to our next question. Is Gothic literature still relevant today? Gothic fiction has had a huge influence on modern literature. The Murders in the Rue Morgue by the Gothic writer Edgar Allan Poe is considered the first detective story ever written. The original Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley, has become one of the most classic and influential tales that is still being retold and reinvented today. The same goes for Dracula by Bram Stoker. Gothic literature has continued to be a source of inspiration for horror, suspense, and science fiction writing. Not to mention it's inspired Gothic TV shows, movies, and even video games. But why are people still reading it? Haunted houses, ominous aristocrats, inner and outer demons. It's exciting. But there might be another reason why it's still popular, and especially popular now. There's a lot happening in the world right now, and most of it doesn't seem positive. It's in these dark times that the Gothic style seems oddly appealing. It's almost as though it's possible to link present events to stories from 300 years ago. For example, isolation, disease, a fear of the end of the world. Themes similar to these can be found in Gothic stories such as Jane Eyre or The Mask of the Red Death, but you could easily link them to the hardships of the pandemic or the growing anxiety of climate change. As writer Stephen King puts it, we make up horrors to help us cope with real ones. When we can read these horrific stories and compare them, even subconsciously, to our own experiences, but do all that without the risk of any consequences and the reassurance that the tales are made up. It's relieving, in a way, just as we watch movies to experience things without having to actually experience them. While some may disagree and conclude that the Gothic genre is a thing of the past, it continues to have a great influence on modern-day fiction and still attracts a large number of readers who manage to find comfort in the unsettling tales of Gothic literature.